I'm Jamie with the Real Fiery Arrow, and in today's video I wanted to discuss a very important transit that is about to occur on the 21st of December, and it is the transit of Lilith moving into Sagittarius. It just so happens that, well, I've always been interested in Lilith and her placement in my chart, but I just realized looking at the current transits that she is moving into the place where she was at the time of my birth, which is very interesting because the only time that I've seen this occur with a planet or an astrological object returning to its original place in my chart was back when I had my Saturn return, which is every 29.5 years approximately. And I can say for a fact that when we have our Saturn return, it's almost like a rite of passage where everything changes. And also I've been very affected by Pluto moving into Aquarius. I really do have a really interesting astrological chart, and it was really fascinating reading and learning about it. So when I saw that Lilith is returning to my 8th house in Sagittarius, which is, I mean, can you imagine a more, I don't want to say powerful, but potent placement? I think anywhere with whatever Lilith touches is really important. And I think we need to highlight the importance of her moving into Sagittarius. And it's not only going to affect those with the sun sign in Sagittarius or those with the rising sign in Sagittarius. It will affect us all because every time a planet or an astrological object moves into a particular zodiac sign, it affects the house. In our chart, it affects parts of our life. For example, my Lilith is in the 8th house, the really deep spiritual house, the second deepest spiritual house after the 12th house. But you have to go through the 8th house in order to get to the 12th house. And I've been feeling this energy of, going deep and healing deeper wounds of trauma and unresolved heartache or shame, anything that involves around dark and unapproachable aspects of our personality or our life. And I've been doing this for years, but I feel like now is the time where actually what I'm doing is actually really working as far as healing is concerned. Healing shame and healing, trauma. There's so much that Lilith can represent. So she's moving on the 21st of December 2025 on the winter solstice, Yule, for those of you who are pagan and are celebrating the pagan calendar. She is moving into Sagittarius, the sign that is most, expansive, most adventurous, most explorative and deep, and sometimes exaggerated. So we will be able to see certain things be exaggerated or, magnified in a way around topics that have to do with freedom, personal freedom. Personal freedom is really what's being highlighted here with Lilith in this placement. And I really do think observing the world around me and observing other people in real life, not just online, that this is a pattern that all of us are going through. And the thing is, you know, do we ever really feel free? Because in modern days, just as always really, but in modern days, we are expected to be something. You know, whether you're a parent and you're expected to be there for your family or for your peers, you know, there's always something we need to do. Everybody is held to certain expectations, and those expectations don't always meet us where we're at. And sometimes these expectations or requirements don't really align with who we are. And that's why many times Lilith is considered a placement that refers to topics like taboo topics or the occult, or more darker, raw, and more, you know, primal energies of our existence. So all these things are coming to the surface. And with Lilith in such a sign, she's bringing up our truest desires, our truest identity, almost by force though, but not because Lilith is a forceful energy, but she's an energy you can ever ignore, you know. Wherever Lilith is, her transit really affects the house. And any other house that's to do with the ruler of the house she's in. In my particular case, my Lilith is in Sagittarius in the 8th house. My Jupiter is in the 4th house, which means my 4th house will be affected as well, which makes sense, and I will let you know why. And it will affect, you know, my Scorpio house, which is my 7th house, which is where I have my Pluto also. So that's pretty intense. So I really have in my chart really strong Scorpio 8th house energies. But I think because of Jupiter and Sagittarius, it almost like evens out, so it doesn't, carry me too far away. Because I have an investigative mind. I like adventure. I like exploring things that others don't. I like discussing things others don't. And maybe some of you feel the same way. I don't know if you have your Lilith in your 8th house or in Sagittarius. Let me know. Give me a comment. How does this period feel? Do you feel like you're being judged, like you're being ostracized, like you're being made to feel shame for things that you want to do, or for things that are truly, truly your own? So, this could be anything at all. You could have your Lilith in Pisces, and that could just mean that she is affecting the way you see the world. Maybe if you have like your Lilith in Pisces, she will help you see the raw truth, regarding who you are as a spiritual being, who you are within the collective as well. Maybe if you have Lilith in Pisces, it could also talk about the need for not just spiritual exploration, but also traveling abroad. Some of you may be solo travelers, entrepreneurs, things like that. Wherever Lilith is, that's what she's going to affect. And it's either going to exaggerate certain traits, or she's gonna even them out. She's gonna bring our attention to things that maybe normally we would not want to address. Also with Sagittarius, Sagittarius is like, when I think of Sagittarius and Jupiter, I think of eternal childhood, you know. I feel like Sagittarius suns or moons have this innate ability to see the brighter side of life, but sometimes it's also a coping mechanism to not internalize the harshness of the world, and it could easily also be denial, you know, over certain things. So I feel that with Lilith here in Sagittarius on the 21st, she is going to remove the illusions. She's going to bring about all that is primal knowledge, primal truth within us, to help us either heal shame, trauma, and, you know, the societal persona that we've created or others have created for us. Because it's infuriating, the fact that there are people that insist on labeling others. And I don't just mean non-binary or binary, you know, pronouns and stuff. I personally don't have a problem. Someone wants me to call them, to address them in whatever way they want, you know, non-binary, they, she, he. I'm more than willing to do that, but it is infuriating to me when people try to label others because it makes sense to them, because it helps them, you know, kind of prepare as to who they have to deal with. And you know, it's very frustrating for me, because I don't think anyone really fits in a mold. I don't think anyone really belongs to one particular label. We're so complex, we are so colorful and complicated and simple at the same time. It's like you can't describe being human in just one label. You can't describe the human experience with just, you know, one word. We're so complex. And this is something that Lilith knows really well. And Lilith just wants to express. Lilith just wants to be who she is unapologetically. Within a community, within her workspace, within, you know, her relationships, whatever she touches, she wants to know that she's an equal. She's not the type of energy or the type of placement that requires power over others, but at the very least, equality. So maybe themes that are going to be brought up at this time are, you know, themes around feminism, themes around human rights, equality, which is something that we've already been going through. But think of it this way, like, you know, we have Scorpio and Aquarius, and now Lilith is coming into Sagittarius. This is a very powerful combination. This is gonna touch us in more ways than one. And not everybody's gonna be affected the same way, because not everybody has the same chart. But of course there are, you know, these transits require time to complete. And Lilith stays in the sign for 9 months. So I'm pretty sure there are people out there with the same placement as I have. Also, my Jupiter house, my 9th house, is in Capricorn. So also these themes are going to be highlighted. My 9th house, for example, is a powerhouse. It is so crowded, so busy and full. I have my North Node there. I have my Uranus there, and my Neptune, which I'm sure people who are born in 1991 probably have that placement. I'm still learning how long it requires for each planet or astrological object to move through houses. So excuse me for my lack of knowledge here. I'm never going to say something I don't feel certain about. So I know that going forward from the 21st, it's going to change everything. For me, definitely. I'm directly affected because she's returning to her birthplace. And I hope this is the case with me because I've been wanting to travel. I feel my freedom is restricted. I don't feel like I can travel. I know I can't right now because I am limited by financial issues and other social issues that I'm going through. So my Lilith, she's very sexual. She is very brutally honest. And the other side of me is where I want to be so respectful. I don't want to hurt people's feelings. And she's almost like, screw that, you know? If you're going to hurt someone's feelings, you will anyway. But you can't conform and filter yourself to the extent where it steals your identity. Just be who you are. And she's very, opinionated, and she's very sexual, and she's very expressive, and she's unapologetic for being a flawed human being, So, of course, Lilith wasn't a human being per se, but in my case and how she shows up here. And my Lilith, particularly, she wants me to embrace femininity. I know I'm a feminine. I identify as a feminine as well, but let me just tell you this. My entire life, I think that's because of my father. My father wanted boys. And so he raised us like boys. He raised us to know how to fix things, how to paint a house, how to, repair houses or repair things or electrical stuff. He was that type of person. He wanted us to be, and we're all girls, by the way. He wanted boys and he got all girls, which is funny. But he wanted us to be independent and not dependent on a man. Even though he was a man, he loved my mother simply because she was autonomous. She was opinionated. She was unapologetically raw and honest in who she was. Of course, that doesn't mean everything was good there too. Nobody's perfect. We all have our issues, the things that we're dealing with, the unresolved trauma or pain or, consequences of our era. Every era has its own thorn. Every rose has its own thorn, and every era has its own thorn. And so I feel like my Lilith really agrees with what my father wanted me to be. Independent, strong, resilient, outspoken. Outspoken in a respectful way, though. He wouldn't want anyone to mute me, to silence me. And this is a very powerful time for those of you like me who have held the truth inside, who have kept something for years or have held on to unresolved trauma. I'm not saying that you're going to resolve your trauma from one moment to the next on the 21st of December, but it will definitely facilitate healing around things like shame or social pressure or bullying, and things like that are really going to come into focus. And our truest identity and our voice, to have our voice be heard. And I was dating this guy And I will always be honest on this channel. I've gone through roller coaster rides. I used to be the opposite of what I am right now. I mean, looking back, I think I'm completely different. Hopefully in a better way. But I used to be the person that I am annoyed by the most. And I mean that I was judgmental, I was quick to assume, I was quick to just make assumptions and label as well. I was also very quick to dismiss people who weren't aligned with what I thought I believed in. And I say thought I believed in because there are so many things that I used to think were true that then I woke up realizing that no, that wasn't my truth all along. This was someone else's truth. This was my community's truth, but it wasn't my own. And stripping that conditioning and that grooming, because in my particular case, I had to heal grooming. And not from just one person, from many people. Many people have tried to groom me and shape me into something that I was not. You know, one person wanted to shape me into being like, quote unquote, saint. Others wanted to shape me into being a quote unquote prophet. Others wanted me to behave like a sex worker. That's something that recently happened to me, and that really pissed my Lilith off. I realized that I was in an environment that was trying to steer me towards sex work in a very discreet and subtle way. And when I realized how low my bar was and how weak my boundaries were and how just out there I wasn't paying attention to what the fuck was going on. And when I realized the people I had around me were exploiting me, it was like, that's a no-brainer. How did you not see it earlier? And I don't know why this happened, if other women experience this, or not just women, anybody can be exploited, anyone can be steered towards that. And it's because, I've been struggling financially, and for this reason, people thought I would do just about anything to get money. But that's not the case, my Lilith really, really got pissed off with that one. And I started paying attention to what she had to say, So I've been through a lot of dark situations, like situations that wouldn't be considered normal. And I know I'm not the only one in this world that has a really chaotic life. So like, if anything weird is meant to happen, it'll happen for me. So there are just so many labels that people have tried to place on me. And also I was very much affected by the societal changes. I was also affected by COVID a lot. I was also affected by my family's expectations, my father's, my mother's, my siblings, my friends. I was seeing that whatever expectation they had, I just couldn't meet that expectation. And the more I tried to meet those expectations, the worse I felt. I felt like I wanted to skin myself, Like, this isn't who I am. Who I am is deeper. And that requires time. That requires a lot of self-observation, self-analysis, which is something I'm really good at to a fault, because sometimes I really overanalyze and I don't let my brain rest. My brain's like a computer. I have so many tabs open. Even right now, maybe thinking about 10 other things at once while speaking. I don't even know how I do it. So, yeah. So Lilith now coming into Sagittarius touches on themes of, such as religion, freedom of speech, democracy, sex, femininity, feminism, human rights, power dynamics between the sexes. She could really manifest in so many ways for so many people, depending on the placement in your chart. So this is a time where we're asked to really, really know who we are. And this is a time that we're asked to take back our power where we lost it. And it's time to really speak up about the things that we need to really externalize and express. Maybe this particular December might be a month where we'll see many things revealed. I see other placements also suggesting it. And I mean, with Pluto in Aquarius is the sign of the collective, So I feel like the collective is going through a big transformation. The collective is interested in deeper themes of self-healing and trauma and, all these sticky, difficult things that we have to deal with. And so closing this video, I hope it was informative. I want to ask you, what are you trying to free yourself from? Who or what is trying to make you feel small? Who or what is trying to make you feel ashamed of who you really are? Do you feel like you can express freely nowadays? Do you feel like you are appreciated for who you are? Have you found community? Have you found your people? Do you feel like, you can attain the things you want to attain? Do you have personal power? Or are you struggling with power dynamics, wherever that may be? But, Sagittarius is the 9th house, really. And so the 9th house is all about spiritual expansion, publishing, education, religion. So all these things are being brought up, in whichever way this applies to you. So say, for example, I have always struggled with religion, organized religion, monotheism. I've always struggled with that. And it's taken me years to break free from a dogma that really bound me, that really felt oppressive, that wouldn't allow me to freely express my sexuality, to freely speak up about the things that I need to speak up. And this has been really, really painful for me, but it was absolutely necessary to do this work, this healing work with myself, and dig deep into my true beliefs so I can know who I am within the collective. Because doing what I'm doing right now, in order to do this as a career, which is what I hope for, I will have to know myself, because when you don't know yourself, other people will tell you who you are. And this is everywhere, every day, for everybody, in even small ways. Society will try to tell you who you are. Society will try to control what you say. And when I say society, it could be a community, it could be a workplace, it could be a family dynamic or whatever. But this is the time for scapegoats. This is the time for rebels. This is the time for whistleblowers. This is the time for people who like to investigate the truth, the raw truth. And I feel like there's going to be extremely important revelations going forward. So we're up for a ride, but at least this uncomfortable placement for some, this could be uncomfortable for some, at least it has a reason. At least it's going to benefit the collective, both by bringing knowledge and by liberating and by bringing attention to our beliefs, to our spiritual being, bringing the attention inward. Because, and it makes sense, because the 9th house before the 10th house, the 10th house is who you are to the world, right? How can you be someone within the collective? How can you stand up as an individual identity within the collective, in the world, if you don't already know who you are internally, right? And if you're having problems understanding how your Lilith is going to affect you, also, I'd like to emphasize looking into the 4th house, because the 4th house also talks about inner truth, who we are at home, who we are in our safe space. So yeah, take a look at your 9th house, your 4th house, and take a look at where your Lilith was at your time of birth. I personally use astro.com for this. I think it's amazing. You could use that as well if you want to find your placements, but you have to have your time of birth in order to know exactly where Lilith was. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this was informative and not too long or boring. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.